She was screaming at the officers, "He's poisoning the lake!" Well, I was literally the one saving it. That's how it started. I was knee-deep in the water, clearing old debris and rusted pipes from the lake I'd just bought, when 3 police cruisers pulled up, blue lights flashing, sirens echoing over the water. And right behind them stood Karen, HOA president, clipboard in hand, sunglasses too big for her face, and that fake smile she wears before she starts shouting. One of the officers walked up to me. "Sir, we got a report that you're illegally modifying a community lake." I laughed under my breath. "Community lake? This is my property. I bought it last month." Karen jumped in, waving her papers. "That's not true. The lake belongs to the HOA. We have waterfront rights. He's polluting it and blocking our access." I didn't say much, just pulled out my phone and showed the deed. The officer's expression shifted fast. "It says here the lake is fully private land, owned by me," I finished. Karen's face went red. "That's not possible. Our bylaws say—" "Your bylaws don't beat federal records," I cut her off. "The county released this land years ago. It was abandoned, filled with trash. I restored it with my own money." For a second, there was silence. You could hear the ducks on the far side of the lake. But Karen wasn't done. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You think you can just take our view and lock us out? We'll see about that." I knew that tone. It wasn't over. HOA Karens never stop at embarrassment. They double down. And sure enough, 2 days later, I got a certified letter on my doorstep. Cease and desist all activities on HOA property. They were trying to kick me off my own land. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't just restoring that lake for fun. I had a very specific reason, one that would turn their whole fake authority upside down. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of machinery, loud, metallic, echoing through the trees. I stepped out of my cabin and froze. Karen had done it again. A group of men in orange vests, probably HOA contractors, were cutting through the old fence I'd installed around the lake. They had trucks parked right on my property, with a big sign hammered into the dirt. HOA Waterfront, Community Access Restoration Project. I walked straight toward them. "You're trespassing. Every inch of this land is privately owned." One of the workers shrugged. "Ma'am told us HOA owns the lake. She's paying double for the job." Of course she was. Karen stood at the edge of the water, sipping coffee, watching like she just won a war. "You can't block the community from their own waterfront," she said sweetly. "We've had access for years. You can't just take it." I took a deep breath and smiled. "Karen, I'm not taking anything. I'm restoring what the county abandoned. You're trespassing. Again." She rolled her eyes. "I already spoke to the HOA attorney. We'll see what the judge says about your fake ownership papers." That line hit differently, because I had spoken to the county attorney myself 2 weeks before buying the property. And not only was my ownership legitimate, but I also had a restoration permit backed by the state environmental agency. Still, I didn't react. I knew what she wanted, a fight. That night, I installed motion cameras all around the lake. The next morning, the footage nearly made me laugh. Karen and 2 HOA board members sneaking through the fence at midnight, dumping trash bags right into the water. She wasn't just trying to frame me, she was building a case. By the end of the week, HOA filed a complaint claiming I was contaminating their community waterway. But when I handed the security footage to the investigator, his eyes went wide. "Sir, this isn't just a trespass. This is environmental vandalism." I just nodded. File it officially. Karen had no idea what was coming. Because once you mess with state property permits, it's not an HOA issue anymore. It's a federal one. The investigation moved fast. Faster than Karen expected. Within 3 days, a county inspector and 2 officers arrived at the lake with official documents in hand. I was there waiting, coffee in one hand, drone controller in the other. Karen came rushing out of her SUV the moment she saw them. "Finally! You're here to stop him! He's ruining our lake!" The inspector didn't even look at her. He pointed at me. "You're Mr. Walker?" "Yeah. I assume this is about the complaint?" He nodded, flipping open his file. "We reviewed your environmental permit, your restoration plan, and your ownership documents. Everything's valid." Then he turned to Karen. "But we also received evidence of illegal dumping done by HOA members, including you, ma'am." Her jaw dropped. "What? That's ridiculous! He faked that video." The officer spoke up. "Ma'am, the footage has time-stamped GPS data. It matches your vehicle's plate entering private property at 11:43 p.m. The silence that followed could have sunk a boat. Karen looked like she might explode. "You don't understand! We've always used this lake! He can't just take it!" The inspector calmly pulled out a document. "The county bead says otherwise. This property was separated from HOA jurisdiction in 1998. The lake was never yours." Her fake smile vanished. "You're making a mistake. Our community will fight this." The officer sighed. "You can fight it in court, ma'am, but until then, step off his property." For once, Karen didn't argue. She turned around, muttering under her breath as she marched back to her car. But I knew her type. She wasn't done. That night, my phone buzzed with messages from unknown numbers. HOA board members calling me a thief, a fraud, even threatening to take back what's theirs. I sat there in silence, scrolling through each message, one after another. Then I smiled. They wanted a fight in court? Perfect, because they had no idea who I really was and what kind of legal background they'd just challenged.
3 weeks later, the courtroom was packed. HOA members filled the benches, whispering and glaring at me like I'd stolen their crown jewel. Karen sat at the front, perfectly dressed, holding a binder so thick it could have been her ego. She caught my eye and smirked. When the judge entered, everyone stood. The air felt heavy, the kind of tension that builds before a storm breaks. Karen's lawyer started strong. He spoke about community heritage, shared access, and moral ownership. The judge nodded politely, but didn't say much. Then it was my turn. I stood up, placed my documents on the table, and spoke quietly, but every word hit hard. "Your Honor, I legally purchased this land from the county. I have full ownership, federal environmental permits, and video proof of the HOA trespassing and dumping trash into the lake." Karen shifted in her seat, whispering something to her lawyer, but I kept going. "I didn't take anything from them. I cleaned what they abandoned. I restored a dying lake, and all they've done is harass, vandalize, and threaten me." Then I handed the judge a flash drive. This contains security footage, timestamps, drone clips, and license plates. Everything verified by the sheriff's office. Karen's face turned pale. Her lawyer tried to object, but the judge silenced him with a wave. After a few minutes of silent viewing, the judge leaned back, took off his glasses, and said the line I'll never forget. "Mr. Walker, it's clear this property is yours, legally and ethically. HOA's claims are dismissed. Furthermore, their interference constitutes harassment and property damage. You are awarded control over all waterfront access within your boundary." The courtroom went silent. Karen's mouth dropped open. "That can't be right. We'll appeal." The judge cut her off. "You'll do no such thing, ma'am. You'll also cover all legal costs and environmental cleanup fees." I didn't smile. I just gathered my papers and walked out. Outside the courthouse, reporters were already waiting. Word had spread fast. Someone asked, "Sir, how does it feel to win against the HOA?" I looked at the lake in the distance. calm and shining under the afternoon sun. "Feels like freedom," I said. "They called 911 over a lake I saved. Now I own the shore they stood on." A few months later, the county installed a sign by the water. "Private property, restored and protected." The HOA had to remove their dock, the community board resigned one by one, and me? I spent my mornings on the porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise over the lake I fought for. Because sometimes, the loudest justice isn't revenge, it's silence, peace, and the sound of water that finally belongs to you.